They don't really look like white elephants. I just meant the coloring of their skin through the trees.
It's so cold and glazing you reminding. It made me love it and begin again. It made me love it and begin again. You made me love it and begin again.
Hello, sinners. My name's Alice Sim, and welcome to Alice's Shelf Looks and Books. As you know, today I'll be doing my drag makeup while I talk to you about a little piece of literature. And today we'll talk about Ernest Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants. I'll see you on the other side. But before we talk about Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants, it's important for us to understand what is his iceberg theory and how we can analyze short stories using it. But let me glue my brows first. So, in simple terms, and just as a matter of introduction, Hemingway's iceberg theory is that in short stories, the author always shows us the tip of the iceberg, and we, as the readers, have to dig out the true meaning of the story. And as you know, this channel is focused on female literature and feminist criticism. And it's funny that I bring Hemingway here and the iceberg theory because some critics have said that Hemingway's writing is overly masculine. So, if we think of what Schwalter says about female literature, and next week we'll talk a little about Virginia Woolf's Room of One's Own, you see how this subtlety and this idea of the reader will uncover whatever I meant can be understood as quite masculine. But, well, let's talk about the story itself, shall we? So, Hills Like White Elephants is about this couple, the girl and the American, and they are at a train station. And they're talking about this surgery that the girl must have. She must go through a certain surgery, which we know nothing about. What we do know is that the man is constantly saying, like, hey, you don't have to if you don't want to, but do it so that everything can be as it was, things can be good again. And she is a little hesitant at first, but finally she surrenders to it. So they go into this bar at the train station, and they're talking in the bar about the surgery, and then the waiter only speaks Spanish, so the man has to order drinks for the both of them. And meanwhile, the woman is looking at the hills she can see from the train station. And she says, oh, those hills look like white elephants, don't they? And he kind of ignores that. And she's kind of pissed about it, like the white elephants. But that doesn't last forever. And they keep on talking until a moment in which the girl says, can you please, 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 please shut up? So it's like she's done with the topic. She doesn't want to talk about it anymore. And the man kind of shuts up. And they end up like drinking by themselves, like each of them at a different spot. And he asks her, like, are you okay? This was a little off. And she says, I feel fine. There's nothing wrong. I feel just fine. This is a story about abortion. And here's the thing. When I first studied it, I didn't realize that. I had to be explained. So let's talk about it, because the only information we have is that she's about to have a surgery, right? So let's analyze how this story actually goes, which means let's look for tips from the tip of the iceberg Hemingway gave us, and let's figure out what is actually happening. A very important point, obviously, is when we analyze anything, where do we start from? Exactly, the title. So, Hills Like White Elephants. What is a white elephant? A white elephant is an inconvenience, so it's something that's not desirable. The topic that they're talking about, none of them want to talk about the baby they're just going to have. They're just going to have a board, actually. Um, but the thing is, we only know that there's something going on that they don't want to talk about because that's a white elephant. And in the beginning, she's the one to point out like those hills look like white elephants. And he kind of ignores her. But there's a shifting point in the narrative in which she says, "Oh no, I was wrong. They only look like white elephants at the first sight. Now they actually look quite lovely." So what is that supposed to mean? The thing is, the baby is not a desirable thing. The baby is a problem. The baby is something they don't want. The baby is a white elephant, so they're going to get themselves rid of it. However, it reaches a point in which she kind of wonders if she doesn't actually want to have the baby. Because they, although at first sight it looked like white elephants, like the hills look like white elephants, now that she looks closer into it, it actually looks quite lovely. So maybe she should have the baby, right? But the guy is still like, the guy ignores her, and this tells us a lot actually about Hemingway's way of treating gender. Because Hemingway's men and Hemingway's women are very, very specific. So let's talk about the man first. He won't listen. He has set in his mind that she has to have the surgery. He's kind of gaslighting her because he's like, hey, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but do it so that things can go back to the way they were and we can go back to being happy and everything will be better once you go through with that. So even though the man is kind of giving her a choice, he isn't really. And perhaps more important for us than to notice that Hemingway's men are like this rigid take on man of somewhat knowledgeable and very worldly, we have to see the fact that he's in control. He's in such control of the situation that the girl depends on him, even to order drinks, because he's the only one who speaks Spanish. So he's in full control of the situation. On the other hand, we can also take a look into Hemingway's women. So who is this girl? How does she behave? First off, she's very indecisive. Like really indecisive. She doesn't know if she wants to go through with the surgery. She doesn't know what to drink, so she just ends up ordering the same thing as the man does. And the man is more interested in the other passengers, like looking at the other passengers and noticing like their lives and what they're doing there, than he is in the girl. So this take on gender is very, very specific because it tells us a little about Hemingway and the way he sees women. If you think of The Snows of Kilimanjaro, that's another short story by him. We also have the same kind of thing going on. Although we have a man that's like on the verge of death and like everything's going wrong for him, and the woman's like the healthy one, he is still in control of the narrative, you know? So, let's focus on that for a second. But I'm done. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about a very important topic in this story, which is the lack of communication. Even though the short story is about this couple talking, none of them are actually listening. The man doesn't notice what the woman is saying, what she wants for herself. She can't talk to the waiter because it's all in Spanish. So there's a severe problem of communication going on. We started a little about how this relationship is like, because if they're not listening, and if none of them is willing to pay attention to what's going on in the mind of the other, then is that actually a relationship? And there's also the point of the drinking. A lot of people drink to get away from their problems, right? That's really, really normal. We all know someone who does that. And they are clearly evading the topic of the baby. And the drinking also is connected to that. But the thing is, although they start drinking together, they don't end up drinking together. They end up each on a different spot. And that kind of foreshadows to us what will be the future of the couple. Like, they're not gonna end up together. Even at the train station, they have like one another, and they are still not together. So this gives us a take on who they are, how they behave. But then there's something that once a professor highlighted to me, and that, I don't know, it kind of feels like, yeah, that makes sense. That is the fact that she's probably this man's mistress. They are not really in a relationship. Now you can be like, oh, Alice, what do you mean by that? I mean, there's a specific point in the narrative in which they mention the stamps of the several motels they've been in the past nights. And although I firstly see that as just like, oh yeah, of course, they have been in a bunch of motels because they're in Europe and the guy's American, so like they went somewhere else to get the abortion. There's also an argument of they don't have a place to be at. You know, they meet each other at motels. That's like their spot because they're not really a couple. She is like his mistress. So that's an important take, because if we take that into consideration, we can think that maybe this man was this girl's hope. Maybe he had been lying to her and saying like, no, I'll leave my wife, like everything will be fine. And now with the whole abortion thing, she's like, that's not true, you know, like this could be our scapegoat, you know, like this could be the reason why we're together. And he's so decisive in her getting the abortion that she can be like. And here's the thing, it's literature, there's no right or wrong. Do you think that's what's happening? Good for you. Don't you? Okay, good for you. You know, it's literature. But it's, to me, it's important to show you that there's like a different idea to it. Okay? I'm gonna draw my brows because I feel very weird. Now let's talk a little about where the narrative takes place. It's a train station. Why is it important for us to understand the choice of setting the story in a train station? What is a train station? A train station is not a final destination. It's a stopping point, right? Maybe if you hadn't chosen where you were going to, that's the point in which you stop and you be like, okay, where are we going to now? Like, what's the next stop? Which makes a lot of sense if we think about the narrative itself. Because that's it, like, this is where we are now. It's not final. Where are we going next? And a choice of place is always really important. As an actor, you always have to think of like, where am I? When am I? Why am I, maybe? But when we're analyzing literature, that's just as important. Like, where does the story take place? And why did the author choose to set the story in this specific place? You know, there's a reason why this is happening in a train station. I hate drawing brows, can you tell? So, to summarize, it's the fact that the relationship is at a crossroad. Is it going forward? Is it ending? Is it going backwards? What's happening to this couple? To be decided. Okay, I'm back and now I have brows. Also concerning landscape, there's a very important point in the narrative, which is the fact that we have two landscapes close to this train station. The first one are the hills, which look like white elephants and which are beautiful, lovely, in the words of the girl. So we have those hills. On the other hand, we have the brown emptiness by the train station. So those would be symbols to the choices that the girl is to make of whether she is having the baby or whether she's having the abortion. So finally, which sucks because I'm halfway through my makeup and I've already finished my analysis of the story. We have the fact that the girl takes over the power. And that happens when she's talking to the man, and the man's talking about how they can have everything. You know, she should have the surgery so that things can go back to normal and they can be like they used to. And the dialogue goes exactly like this. I said we could have everything. No, we can't. We can have the world. No, we can't. We can go everywhere. No, we can't. It isn't ours anymore. So this is the point in the narrative in which she takes control of things. And she says like, hey, all of this hope, all of the bullshit, we can't have it. It's done. I got pregnant and you want me to have the abortion? I'll fucking have the abortion. But it's done. All the dreams, all the expectations, all of the hope in a relationship, gone. This is the end. So this is the moment in which the girl takes control of the narrative. And it's very interesting because we've been presented a very persuasive and strong man. And in the end, he has no control over her because she's already made up her mind. In her mind, on her own, the way she wants to. However, it's interesting the way she makes that choice because when he's saying like, we can go back to being fine, we can be like we were before, we'll be fine. And she's like, fine, I'll do it because I don't care about me. And he's like, what? No, I care about you. And she's like, meh. You know, so it's a point of like, I don't give a shit anymore. You know, so even though she has made her choice, like she does make her mind to go for the surgery, or maybe not, because we'll get to the ending. It's not because of her, you know, she's like, I'm done with this. I don't want to deal with it, you know, which is really, really sad, but still her choice in some way. Or is it? We can discuss that. If this was actually her choice or if it's the man persuading her throughout the entire thing. So let's talk about the ending. What does she opt for? Because we don't get a concrete answer of what she's going to do, right? So it's kind of left up to us. And we know that they're not gonna end up together, we've talked about it. But now she thinks that the hills are lovely. And he asks her, like, how do you feel? And she ends the text with, I feel fine. There is nothing wrong with me. I feel fine. So what is it? Because now they're drinking by themselves, each of them in a different spot, and they're not gonna end up together. Is she going to have the baby? Is she gonna be a single mother? Or is she gonna go with the abortion? Because apparently the abortion was the man's idea, right? So now that she's going to be alone, is she still going for that? So it leaves to us as the reader to decide like what we believe and what are the hints that lead us to that. My opinion is that she goes on with the abortion because she can't be a single mother. Like they've been in hotels and he has to order her drinks, so she's still kind of submissive to him. She can't bear having a child on her own. However, they don't, end up together. Like, she has surgery, then they go back home. They have like that conversation of, we'll be fine, you know, we'll pull through this, everything will be okay in the end. But both of them know that it's not going to. So that's my ending. Okay, here's a problem. I'm done with my story, and I still have to put on the highlighter and do my eyes and my lips. So since this is not a makeup channel, this is a literature channel, I'll be right back when I'm ready. See you in a bit. I'm back. So this was Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on Friday when we'll be talking a little about Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own, and we can think a little further on that topic of masculine writing of Hemingway's. Remember, life's a sin.